Stockton had no experience building submersible. None of them did. None of them were experienced submersible operators. I know the company had been on the go since 2009. There was no experience across the board within that organization.
As the Director of Marine Operations, what is your responsibility and obligation to the safety of the submersible that you are operating?
My responsibility is to the passengers, 100%, and myself. The vehicles themselves, I've got to have 100% confidence in the ability to be able to maneuver, dive, bring back up to the surface, and get those people out safely without any thoughts of, are components going to fail, or is there any issues topside that are going to affect this? It's paramount. You have to have the confidence in the equipment to do the job. It's like every other industry. If you don't have the confidence in it, you don't do it. That's it.
And did you have confidence in the way that the Titan was being built at this time?
No confidence whatsoever, and I was very vocal about that, and still am.
And as an experienced engineer and operator of submersibles with over 25 years of experience, why do you think they dismissed your concerns?
Cost-cutting, bad engineering decisions. I would say that's the two main things. The desire to get to the Titanic as quickly as they could to start making profit. I knew nothing about the financials side of things, but there was a big push to get this done, and a lot of steps along the way were missed. And it was pretty evident, not just to myself, to Mr. Tim Catterson, to Chris Imes, who are both very experienced submersible pilots with years and years of experience. And we all voiced concerns about what was happening in terms of the engineering of Titan, and even more so when the components started arriving at the facility in Everett during 2017.
Is the dismissal of such safety concerns by experienced pilots and operators the norm within the submersible?
No, it's not acceptable, and I don't know why, but the chief operating officer who's running the organization, he should, when anybody goes to a chief operating officer, if the CEO is saying do this and you don't agree with it, you go to your next in command, you let them know that you're not happy with it. Anytime I would give my displeasure in what was happening, or disapproval, I'd say that's probably the best word, I was dismissed. So everybody knew. From the engineering team, I spoke to every single one of them, all these children that were coming in straight out of university. Some hadn't even been to university yet, that Tony Nissen had employed. Stockton had no experience building submersible. None of them did. None of them were experienced submersible operators. I know the company had been on the go since 2009. There was no experience across the board within that organization. That initially was the entire appeal for me going across and transforming things and making something good out of what at the time was nothing. It was nothing. It was all smoke and mirrors, all the social media that you see about all these past expeditions. They always had issues with their expeditions. I didn't know this at the time until I went across, speaking to contractors that had been on the previous jobs. Yeah. Sorry, I do apologize. That was...
So in the fall of 2017,
Yes.
the first Titan hull begins to come together. So the winding is complete and the new parts begin to come into OceanGate. Were you there at the time?
Correct, I was.
And at that point, what was your role and responsibility with regards to the new Titan hull and the parts coming in and reviewing? Were you part of the review process of these things coming in to your submersible?
Initially, no, not until I was asked, which is on the voice recording, which you have all heard, which and Stockton states in there, he did ask me to do an inspection of the Titan. This is once the vehicle was complete. So up until then, anytime any of the components would come in, my desk overlooked the loading area where stores would come in. The components would come onto the shop floor before they were taken through to the engineering department. I looked at everything, and there wasn't anything, and I mean anything, on that build, or pre-build, basically when the components were there, that gave me any confidence in them producing an efficient product. Nothing. And as I have reiterated, and I probably will continue to do so, I was very vocal about it to all of them. Every director within the organisation. Owner's wife at the time, I don't know whether she was, all of them. And it didn't help the relationship, but at the end of the day, safety comes first. And anytime you're going in a sub, most important thing is going home safe to your families, not going and making money and pushing the envelope as everybody keeps quoting in the news. It's nothing to do with that. You want to be able to do something safely. Yes, you're taking a risk going down a submersible, but don't take risks that are unnecessary with faulty, and I mean faulty, deficient equipment. And everything that came in had anomalies or deficiencies in the product itself. I wasn't the only one that saw this. There was a lot of people saw every component coming in. Yeah, I was the most vocal.
Recorder, can you please bring up Exhibit 098? Which was the Director of Marine Operations inspection report.
Yep.
Mr. Lochridge, have you ever seen this document?
Absolutely. I made this document, and if you've no objections, would you allow me to read this out?
And what is that?
It is the same, well, sorry, it was the initial cover letter to all the rest of the directors of the company and Stockton Rush, the CEO.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Is that the email that's displayed here, sir?
That is. Okay, so this was sent to all the directors, Tony Nissen included, who was Director of Engineering. With Cyclops 2, Titan, being handed off from engineering to operations in the coming weeks, now is the time to properly address items that may pose a safety risk to personnel. Verbal communication of the key items I have addressed in my attached document have been dismissed on several occasions. So I feel now I must make this report so there's an official record in place. As a Director of Marine Operations, it's my professional opinion that the items noted in my report are significant in nature and must be addressed. I have also included my recommendation to how we should be addressing each issue in the attached quality inspection report. As stated in my employment contract and job description, David Lochridge is responsible for ensuring the safety of all crew and clients during submersible and surface operations. I feel we all have a duty of care as management to all personnel, whether it be staff or mission specialist. Therefore, it is my opinion that until suitable corrective actions are in place and closed out, Cyclops 2, Titan, should not be manned during any of the upcoming trials. My report and the relevant attachments are merely a clear stated record of what I feel should be addressed to allow for successful and safe operations with OceanGate Incorporated. This report was prepared by myself as part of the pending handover of the asset from OceanGate Engineering Team to the Operations Department on the 18th of January 2018.
And when did you begin conducting this inspection?
So the official report where I started highlighting, I mean, I've been making notes all the way through when this product started appearing and obviously speaking verbally about it. In terms of the report itself, it was in the January. We had a conversation, myself, Stockton, Tony was there as well, a week to 2 weeks prior to this 18th of January. And Stockton, as you hear on the voice recording, I was asked to inspect Titan before the handover, not do a quality inspection of Titan, which is on the record, on the voice recording of my dismissal, which you all hold and have heard.
What's the difference between an inspection or a quality inspection?
Okay, for me, common sense. If you're asked to inspect something, it gives the person inspecting it the opportunity and the ability to take notes, provide recommendations, their dissatisfaction with anything, and submit that. It's not just a case of scribbling something down on a bit of A4 paper and handing it over. To do an inspection of something, you have to have a record in place. And for me, this was my opportunity, being asked to do it prior to the sub being handed over, and abomination of a sub, but prior to that being handed over, this was my opportunity to raise everything that I had seen during the build and the final build of Titan.